Hello once again, and welcome back to another episode of Movie Deputy Reviews, where we go in depth into the who, what, when, where, why, and how of movies by interrogating them for their plot and content. Now, because of that, I am pretty good at upsetting some people, and I've gotten some feedback lately that, I'm not here to please everybody. It's my opinion. You're more than welcome to your opinion. And so let's just kind of go from there. I advise people to just kind of do their own research if you're curious about something. And if I have a differing opinion than you, that doesn't mean that either one of us is right or wrong. It just means that it is interesting and it becomes a topic for conversation, or it opens up a dialogue that just at least allows the people or the ones involved to have a discussion. Or if you don't want to have a discussion and you just want to rant, that's fine too. But the moment that a discussion becomes abusive with name calling and things that are just very inappropriate comment wise, then that just evolves the entire argument, and it basically nullifies any argument that you had of like trying to prove why you're wrong, you're right, and I'm wrong. And so it's just kind of part of it. And yes, it's part of being a movie critic. And so I get the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I just kind of had to share that because it was just something that happened last night, and wanted to kind of go into a little bit more detail about that without exposing the person or the discussion or anything like that. So if you have not unsubscribed and you're still here listening, I just wanted to at least say that. So, and that works in general too. Like if you're having a discussion with somebody in real life and you disagree with them on something, that's perfectly fine. Opinions aren't facts. It's just simple. They're not. Now, if you have factual evidence that backs up your thought, backs up what you're saying, it's no longer an opinion. It's a fact. And so there's a fine line there that just. But today I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too deep. But today we are talking about the movie Blink. Now, I know we talked about Blink twice yesterday. This is not a prequel to Blink Twice. It's just two movies with similar titles. This one is actually a National Geographic documentary. And this one has to do with a family of 6. There are 2 parents and 4 children. Now, imagine, if you would, as a parent, learning that 3 of your 4 children have a disease that is going to make them go permanently blind, and there's absolutely nothing that can be done. It's devastating. There's no way around that. It's a devastating diagnosis. And what's the diagnosis? Well, it's not going to kill them, but it's going to take away their sight. It's called retinitis pigmentosa. And so over time, their vision will become less and less until they just basically see like through just a pinhole, and eventually that would be gone. And these children are quite young in age. I mean, we're talking, I think the oldest one's 11 and the youngest one is like 6. So they're very young in age when all this is happening to them. And so the parents ask them, they're like, okay, what do you want to do? It's like, if you could make a bucket list, what would you want to do? And so the 4 kids put together their bucket lists, and it's go on a safari, sleep on a train, eat ice cream. I mean, these are kids. Drink juice on a camel, eat with chopsticks, ride in a hot air balloon, visit a castle. I mean, they're kids, so the bucket list things on kids' ideas are interesting. So these parents basically cashed out all of their retirements, all of their investments, everything, and they took a trip, a 1-year-long trip, going all over the world. They went to 15 different countries to celebrate their children and to do the things on these children's bucket lists that they wouldn't necessarily be able to do once their vision was gone. And they wanted to give the children memories to see and memories to feel and to just kind of get caught up in the moment, so that they would still have these things to look back on when all this was said and done. Now, when this one wasn't really like advertised to a wide audience. Like I said, it's a Nat Geo documentary. So there's probably a lot of people that have never even heard of this. And it is very poignant in the way that it is done. It's emotional. You kind of get drawn into the story. But at the same time, it feels just, I don't know, this would be unobtainable for most people. This is not just something that people can just drop their lives and spend a year traveling the world and then just return to life where they left off. That's not the reality for most people in the world. But that's something that they decided that they needed to do for themselves and for their family. And in doing so, they gave these kids an unforgettable experience. I mean, this was absolutely beautiful the way it was done. And there's some moments of some tension, and okay, they're kids. They're not going to handle stuff as well as adults do. They're not going to handle situations and stress as well as adults do. And so you get to experience some of that too. But this takes you through that whole process, through the thing of learning their diagnosis, all the way through this entire trip and all of these different experiences, and then shows them coming back home. And after all is said and done, if you experience this, there's actually a scene in the credits that you want to stick around for as well. And with Blink, I was kind of debating guilty, innocent, but I think I'm going to end up at an innocent rating on this. There's a couple things of language that are maybe not the most appropriate for all audiences, but in general, the content is safe for all audiences. So I do think that's an important thing to touch on. Score-wise on this, been really kind of struggling on this just because of the fact it's beautifully done. It's an incredible story, but it's so unobtainable for individuals. It's beautiful to see that they did this and they did this for their children, but it's just not realistic for most of society. And that doesn't mean that this story shouldn't be told at all. But score-wise, I am coming in at a 6 out of 10 on the Deputy scale, just because there's parts of it that are really memorable, and there's other parts of it that are just, okay, where you walk away and you're like, okay, I'm glad I watched this, but did I really take anything away from this? That's where it gets a little bit murky. It's like, did you, as the viewer, are you going to take something away from this that's going to be long lasting and something that's going to impact you personally? That's where, like I said, it gets a little fuzzy on some of that stuff. Now, in the credits, it does mention an in loving memory of a Dennis W. Robinson Jr. I'm not sure who that is, as I didn't really connect with a character with that name throughout the whole story itself, but I'm sure it was somebody either important to the production crew or to the family themselves. So I wanted to at least acknowledge that. If this is something you're wanting to go check out, I'm sure you can find it. I think it's even on Disney Plus now. But if not, just search up Blink documentary, and I'm sure you'll be able to find this quite easily. So, as always, I hope that this review helps with your movie selection. And if this is one that you've already seen or one that you're waiting to see and you have questions or anything, feel free to reach out to me. As always, you know which buttons to click to always get the latest and greatest Movie Deputy content. And as always, I'll be back soon. Bye-bye.